Welcome back to Carmicast. I'm your host, Denton Weiss, and as always, Skylar Anderton over on the, I guess you'd call it the board. This is episode 15, we think. Today's guest is Brian Cook from Elastec here in Carmi, and our episode sponsor is Rally Point Events. You guys might remember they spearheaded the Boots, Bulls, and Country Music rodeo we had here in town last month. Coming to White County here in a couple weeks. Also brought to us by Rally Point Events is going to be what they're calling Big Wheels on the Little Wabash. It is a pro monster truck show. There'll also be a tractor pull, which will start at 1 p.m., and Extreme Pro Quad Racing, which is four-wheeler racing. Monster trucks start at 5. Tickets, if you get them online, are $20. $25 if you wait to get them at the gate. Keep in mind, kids 8 and under are free. You can buy your tickets at, I think it's called On-Tap Tickets, but best thing for you to do is just to visit their website, which is carmimonstertruck.com. There you can see the links to the tickets and more information about the show. Hang in there. We'll be right back. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Today's guest is Brian Cook, a Carmi native. He is the Creative Services Manager at Elastec here in Carmi. How are you, Brian?
I'm well. Thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you coming in the middle of the day. What is a Creative Services Manager exactly?
Well, I am responsible for creating all of the company's literature, marketing material, creative concepts, campaigns, marketing campaigns, and things like that. So I'm in the marketing department. So I'm the face of Elastec. Not my face, thankfully, but I helped create it.
Yeah, we should have made this a audio only podcast instead of video. But no, it sounds like you have your hands full. You probably wear a lot of hats over there. I'm assuming.
Yeah, plenty of hats. Some hats that I never thought I'd wear before, and some hats that I learned to wear, but.
And probably they're handing you new hats on a weekly basis.
That's right.
So we were kind of talking about this before we hit the record button, but Elastec's been there how long?
Well, we started in 1990. So we celebrated our 30th year last year, and we're actually had a few plans of things to celebrate, but, you know, there's a small little thing called COVID that kind of popped up that kind of ruined the plans of a lot of people, but... Yep. So we're 31 years old this year.
And it's always been here in Carmi?
Yep. It's always been here in Carmi. It actually started in Crossville, Phillipstown area. I'll give you the whole history of how it started because it's kind of a funny story. Donnie Wilson and Jeff Cantrell, both Crossville and Phillipstown guys, they had an oil response business where they were going around kind of locally cleaning up oil spills because there's a lot of oil and coal here. You know, we're in the Illinois basin and a lot of oil companies around here are drilling. So they were going around cleaning up local spills or just general cleanup. And they were using a skimmer that they had purchased, and they weren't real happy with it. So they kind of gave up on it.
So a skimmer, for those who don't know what we're talking about, is something that basically sucks the oil that's floating on top of the water off.
Yeah, there's a few different forms of oil recovery. One of them is called mechanical. And a skimmer is a mechanical device for picking up skimmer where it separates the oil from the water. So it skims the oil off the water. It's an oil skimmer. And the skimmer that they had wasn't doing very good. So one of them said, hey, just throw me that bucket, that 5-gallon bucket. I'm just going to start bailing it out. So they threw the bucket, the wind caught it, it falls, it hits the oil, and it rotated. And when they saw that the oil was sticking to that bucket, a light bulb went off. And they invented a drum skimmer. So they invented this drum skimmer. They built it themselves. They started using it themselves in their service calls. They responded to a pretty big spill up north, and they took that with them. And the client saw it. What's that? Well, that's a drum skimmer we made. Well, make me one. Okay. So they built him one or two. They kept going around to different spills using this thing, and people kept seeing it, and they were really intrigued by it. They ended up taking it to a trade show out in California, and it just blew up. So at that point, kind of Elastec was born, and they went from being a service company to a manufacturing company, and they started building these things full time. And they got the facility out at Council Street and started manufacturing products there. They started picking up more products, vacuum systems, incinerators, and things like that. And over 30 years, we've grown into the largest manufacturer of environmental response equipment in the world.
I was reading the website, and it kind of explains, not in depth like you just did, but it kind of tells the history of Elastec. And at the very bottom, it says, and it all started with a bucket. Yep. And that's where they left it. I'm like, I wonder what that means.
Yep, it all started with a bucket. You know, it's just kind of the perfect example of, what do they say, luck and opportunity. You know, it's this formula of success. Mm-hmm. You know, it's two guys, they noticed something, and they're perceptive to pick up on it, and they capitalized on a good idea. And here we are now.
So I'm assuming what's it called, a barrel skimmer?
Drum skimmer.
Or drum skimmer is much larger than just a 5-gallon bucket.
Well, the skimmer that they invented, the drums are about the size of a 5-gallon bucket. It's
really?
It's a 18-inch drum. Yeah, it's called the TDS 118, which stands for 2-drum skimmer, and one drum is 18 inches. That's where that name come from. So
perfect explanation.
Yeah.
All because of slippery fingers and bucket fell in the.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just a lucky breeze.
There's all kinds of stories out there like that. Well, I mean, like WD-40. I guess that actually stands for water displacement, but it didn't start out as a lubricant. Whoever invented it saw another use for it, and now it's probably I bet it's the best-selling lubricant there is. So a lot of things. It's crazy how a lot of things just happen by accident. It sounds like that.
40th recipe of their water displacement mix.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
that was the 40th recipe. And there was a lot more than 40 recipes, too. That's just the best one they had.
Huh.
Hence the name WD-40. Mm-hmm. I just bought 2 cans.
It just rolls off the tongue, too. I love saying WD-40 for some reason.
So I was reading on the website you guys sell. I'm just going to run through them here real quick. We'll kind of touch on if we have to. Oil skimmers, booms, fire booms, disbursement application systems.
Dispersants, yeah.
Work boats, vacuum systems, portable incinerators, custom containment beams. I know nothing about any of that stuff. Can you enlighten us on some of those?
I'd say you're not in the minority there. You know, it's amazing how, we're in a small town here, Carmi, and most people don't know what we do. And, like we were talking earlier, it's not like you can just walk into Elastec and pick something off the shelf.
Hey, honey, I got to run to town. I got to run to the grocery store, run by CVS, grab my prescription, and then I'm going to go to Elastec for...
Needs some industrial vacuums. Just got to pick up a couple trailer-mounted vacuums.
Yeah, so we're glad you came on because, and I told him this earlier before we hit record, I've drove past that thing all my life, and I never really I didn't know what you guys did until we booked you for the show, and I got to looking online. I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty cool, really, that all this is done literally right down the street. So you guys have technically 2 buildings here, 2 locations, if you want to call them that. So the one over by Hux's headquarters, that's I guess you'd call it your corporate headquarters?
Yeah, that is, that's our official ISO, registered corporate headquarters. And that's where we do all of our metal fabrication. So we've got a super beefy infrastructure back there of steel welders, aluminum welders, fabricators. Our engineering department's there. All of our executive departments are there. And for the most part, pretty much everything you see in our product catalog is all made by hand in that facility, our Fairfield facility, and then we have one in Cocoa, Florida as well.
Now, where's Cocoa? Near the beach?
Well, Cocoa Beach?
Yeah.
Okay, Cocoa is just like 5 miles inland. They're basically like sister towns, I guess. Yeah. Cocoa is right next to Cocoa Beach. But
11 years ago, that'd have been a good location to be in the oil spill cleanup business.
Well, I mean, we were there. What we do out of our Cocoa facility is where we do more special projects and fabric projects. turbidity curtains. We were talking about turbidity curtains. That's a weird one where most people don't have any idea what turbidity curtains are. I mean, I myself, if someone said, "Hey, what's turbidity?" Like, turmoil underwater, I guess. But those are the kind of curtains where they're not so much used in oil spill response. They'll be used in marine construction and other special projects in the water. We make a lot of net booms, which are used a lot of times in like industrial power plants or things like that have a water intake, and they need some sort of containment to keep wildlife from getting sucked in, or logs and floating debris. A long time ago, we did a project with NASA, which was kind of neat.
Whoa,
they've got their big the huge building they have there at Cape Canaveral, where they store the rocket and they work on the rockets and the shuttle and stuff like that. And they built a net system for them. So that building is so tall, they got people working up high. If they were to drop a tool, if that thing comes falling all the way down on the ground, that's going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
So, our American Marine Division is what we call them. Down there built these special nets for that building just to catch falling tools to keep them from hitting the shuttle and hitting people.
You could honestly now say that you worked for NASA.
Technically.
Yeah, technically.
You wouldn't be lying.
I'm honored, sir.
Yeah. So the reason I said the 11-year ago thing, because I'm pretty sure it was in 2010, was the Deepwater Horizon, I don't know what you'd call it, disaster. But I was reading online that was the largest caused by man ecological disaster in human history.
Yeah.
And you guys had a pretty big hand in helping with that situation.
So
can you elaborate on that?
Whenever that went down, and it was crazy in our building. I mean, we just got news. I mean, the first thing you hear is this thing explodes and 11 people died. You know, it's a horrible. You look on the news and you see this thing and it's all tilted in the water and it's on fire. You know, it's a big deal. When it first happened, though, the news was no spill. There's no oil in the water. You know, it's all good. But
it's the media's always knee-jerk reaction is lie to them.
Yeah. Honestly, do it quick, hurry.
Yeah. Tell them there's no oil spill.
You know, not to go off on a side rant here, but being involved in that spill was really interesting. You know, actually being part of this. I saw three perspectives. You know, being in the marketing department, and I was the one kind of funneling information out from Elastec.
Yeah. So
it was interesting to see the three stories that were being told. There was the story that the news was telling, the story that the public was perceiving, and then what was actually happening.
And all three are different.
And all three were different. Mm-hmm. And it was strange. But we played a pretty pivotal role in that cleanup. We went down there and we worked.
Not to interrupt you, but did somebody contact you guys, or did you guys just say, hey, we need to go down there because it looks like they don't know what they're doing?
I really don't know who made first contact. I'm not quite sure. I know that the day of, we were in contact with people down there, and our CEO and vice president and a couple of people started loading up trucks and gathering equipment and then going down there that day. So I don't know who made first contact. I don't know. But we were down there within 24 hours, and 24 hours of knowing that there was oil to be picked up. And we took our fire boom systems, and
which is
so let's first talk about containment boom. And containment boom are basically, those pool noodles that you play with every summer. Imagine those inside like a vinyl sleeve, and they're all connected. They're about 100-foot long envelopes with these foam noodles in them, basically. And what those do is they contain oil. Whenever oil is spilled, it floats on the water. So you use these containment booms to collect them, contain them in a certain area so you can remove it from the water.
It's almost like a cofferdam. The only reason I know that is because I watched Curse of Oak Island, but it's just a big inflatable noodle, essentially, right?
Yeah, basically.
So what happens if there's too much and it starts... Can it not get underneath that noodle?
Well, there's a skirt underneath there too, and we make different sizes. I mean, we make some boom that's 3 or 4 inches above the water with like a 2 or 3 inch skirt, and then we make some boom that's inflatable and it'll be like 16 inches above the water with like a 3 to 4 or foot skirt. So it kind of depends on.
So that job probably required the big booms.
So that's when we brought in the big booms, and that's when we brought in the fire boom. Fire boom is the same principle as what I just said, except you can set it on fire and it won't destroy it. We make two different types of fire boom. One is called American fire boom, and it is made of like ceramic and metal mesh and a few different other type of fire retardant products. And it's not a one-time use burn or boom. You can use it multiple times, and the better you take care of it, the more you can reuse it. And then we have another one called Hydro Fire Boom, and it is inflatable. It's a vinyl inflatable boom, but it has a fireproof blanket over it and a water plumbed hose system that runs through it, and it pumps water over this fireproof blanket. So whenever it's burning stuff, it keeps the boom safe and intact.
So the reason Elastec had to, I guess, invent or design a fire boom is because some of these oil spills are burning.
Well, and it started around the Exxon Valdez spill, where that was a pretty major spill. They didn't really have the equipment to clean it up just because of the environment, and they're like, we need something better, something stronger.
Yeah.
So we took fire boom down there, and immediately people were kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Like, well, let us do a demonstration burn. So they did a demonstration burn. They showed them that, hey, the oil's catching. We can destroy a lot of oil here really quick. So they said, okay. So they gave us like one boat, and that one boat started becoming really successful. Then they gave us 2 boats. By the end of the whole thing,
The company that, who gave you the boat?
basically we were working in conjunction with the Coast Guard.
Gotcha.
So we were kind of following their lead. We were the point people as far as like orchestrating things, but we were working under their jurisdiction. And by the end of it, we had a couple hundred people and dozens of boats.
Oh,
and they
wow.
were probably saying, what else do you need?
Pretty much. We couldn't get boom fast enough. We were calling in, basically calling in favors from clients around the world who'd purchased fire boom in the past and having them fly it into us so we could use it. And we were just using shrimp boat captains and their shrimp boats to pull this stuff. Yeah. They were out of work, and they were vessels of opportunity. In a situation like that, you use what's at your disposal.
Yeah.
And they pulling these booms was kind of the same thing they do when they're pulling the shrimp nets.
Yeah.
So they knew how to do it. They knew how to work their boat to pull it at the right speed.
And if you can't catch shrimp, you got to figure out another way to make money. And I'm
Might as well
assuming
catch
they were
oil.
getting paid to do it.
Yep, they were getting paid probably twice as much.
Probably.
And eventually they all knew each other anyway, and they're kind of turning it into a competition because at the end of the day, everyone had to turn in the reports about how much oil they collected and how much oil they burned, and each team was kind of making it competitive as to who could burn the most oil. So, when it was all said and done, our fire booms were the most effective form of removing oil off the water. I think natural evaporation and dispersion was number 1, and then we were number 2 when it came to removing oil. We actually set a Guinness World Record for longest continuous oil burned at sea at just under 12 hours.
Whoa.
It was a huge burn that went for 12 hours straight.
The picture in your catalog, where is it? Is that what we're talking about that's surrounding that?
Yeah, that's the American fire boom. And that was a pretty long burn as well. You can kind of see in that picture that it's starting to be nighttime. And usually what they would do is when the sun would start to go down, it wouldn't really be as safe to work and it's hard to see the oil. So they'd smother the fire if they were still one going. But if they had one that was just, really going, then they'd keep it going because, hey, they're destroying a lot. And the fire's big enough, it's providing enough light that they could see.
Yeah.
And again, these fires are 300 or 400 feet behind the boats. So it was nowhere near any of the workers or anything like that. It was always safe. But it was crazy just how much oil was being destroyed by these fire booms.
How long were you guys down there for all that?
They were down there from the time it happened till the well was capped, which was about 3 months.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was capped in September, I think.
I don't remember the date. And we had I'm thinking we had the 2 guys who were leading, which was Donnie Wilson and Jeff Cantrell, were down there the entire time.
Wow.
I think they might have come back for like a week or something to get a rest. Outside of that, we had a couple of crew people who were just kind of swapping back and forth, who would travel up and down. But no, we had a presence there the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up. of course, on Wikipedia before I come over here. It began on April 20th, so 420, and they capped it on, or it was declared sealed, whatever that means, on September 19th. But that was 210 million U.S. gallons of oil were just dumped, basically. That's
Not a good deal.
I don't even know how much money that would be. $50, $60 a barrel times 210 million.
Let me
Have them invent a way to scoop it out of the water and haul it back here, and we can sell it.
What was the numbers again?
210 million. I don't even know what oil was then. Let's just say $60 a barrel, but I mean that's billions of dollars of oil. Just, I remember the in the Gulf, like all the tourist towns. My cousin was going to get married that following year, and beaches and business. I mean, it was not only was it an ecological disaster, it was an economical disaster for that region too, because who wanted to go to the beach? I mean, there was oil on the beach, dead animals on the beach, just all kinds of crazy stuff after all that.
So if it was $60 a barrel, that would be 12.6 billion.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
What was the other? Oh, I asked him this, but I want him to tell this on the show. They sell something called a drug terminator, and I guess it's exactly how it sounds.
It's exactly how it sounds. It's an incinerator that is made to destroy drugs. So it's a 55-gallon drum with like a special head on it, and we've got a couple blowers in the back. And the way it works is it creates it creates like a fire cyclone inside the barrel, which gets the temperature up super high, super clean, and then it's got a little injection port in the head, and you can kind of fill drugs up with that to destroy them. And, police departments, sheriff departments, and things like that are pretty much the main clients of these. So they have whole evidence rooms full of drugs for, confiscated drugs, court cases, and things like that, as well as drug take-back programs. And they have to go through a certain routine to destroy this stuff. It's not like they can just throw it away. You can't flush it. That's not safe, and there's certain protocols they have to go through to destroy all this stuff.
If they just threw it in the dumpster, that would probably be the world's highest dumpster dive location in the world.
100%. Yeah, that's why there's no dumpsters at the police station.
Right.
So what a lot of these police stations have to do, especially in small towns like this, is take it to someplace. Maybe someplace over in St. Louis or someplace in Springfield, somewhere nearby that has a large incinerator. Well, to do that, most of the time you have to have 2 police officers, kind of just keep an eye on each other, make sure everything's on the up and up. Take those there, pay the fees to use the incinerator, and then however it costs those 2 officers that day. So it's an expensive thing to get rid of all these drugs. And a lot of times, because it is so expensive, they'll wait and only do it once a year, once every 2 years, whenever their evidence room is absolutely full. And it becomes a pretty big burden at that point. So if they have this drug terminator, they can kind of dispose of drugs and narcotics and things they need to destroy on their terms, on their time, for pretty darn cheap, considered the overall cost of having to destroy that stuff otherwise.
Well, I'm assuming you can use it over and over and over.
Yep.
Is there a picture in the book there?
Yes, there is.
And it's
matter of fact, the guy in the picture has a badge on his waist, so it's a police officer of, I don't know if that's a county badge or what, but he is terminating some drugs.
Yeah, it's actually shot behind our facility. We'll often invite people down to do a demo. They might be interested in buying one, but they want to see it first. So we have them come down and they bring some drugs with them. And
I was going to say, I didn't know if you provided the drugs or if they brought the drugs with them.
No, it's all them. They bring it and they handle it, they destroy it, and we just kind of show them how to do it.
Yeah.
So what would be the difference in a drug terminator and a smart ash? Not smart ass, smart ash.
They're pretty much the same. The smart ash doesn't have that injection port. The smart ash was the first incinerator like that, and it was really, the idea behind it is to dispose of garbage, waste, oily waste on site at oil spills or remote locations.
Oh, okay.
It's used a lot too in like remote campsites. We received a picture a couple years ago where they had one of these on their campsite. I think it was up in Alaska somewhere, where it was one of those, whatever you bring in, you got to bring out type
Yeah.
thing. You can't leave any waste or footprint behind. So they were up there for a long time. They needed a way to dispose of their food waste and things like that. So they took that smart ash with them. Well, a baby bear got into their food tent and kind of ransacked their food, and then I guess smelled some more in that incinerator.
Oh no.
So he is over there playing with that incinerator barrel, trying to get food out of it. But, that's another example of, where that's useful is you can, for waste disposal anywhere you go.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny how I'm sitting here holding this catalog. Been in business 31 years, and it all started with a skimmer, and now there's literally a catalog full of stuff they sell. So is a lot of stuff in here like Elastec's like patent designs, or other companies sell these types of things?
Sure.
Or?
There's lots of companies that sell this type of equipment. There's us and maybe two others in Europe who are the big boys. But there's lots of companies out there who do this kind of thing. They don't have the catalog that we do, and they don't have the infrastructure that we do. A lot of times they'll have their equipment built overseas or whatever, or kind of piecemeal different things together. But I think in the whole realm, we're like the only one who actually builds all of our equipment by hand.
Wow.
On site.
It's crazy to think that that's just here in this little bitty town of Carmi too.
Yeah, like they build and sell work boats. I've never drove past there and just seen boats sitting outside, I don't think.
Well, I'm probably
You
not.
know?
They probably wouldn't leave them outside around here.
Well,
I mean, I've heard of fishing boats and bass boats and John boats. What's a work boat?
well, it's
Just like it sounds.
Yeah, just like it sounds. We have two main types that we make. One is a landing craft. So it's got a door on the front, right on the bow, so you can, easily get people in and out, get equipment in and out, land on the shore, and kind of go straight to the land.
Like Normandy. Isn't that what we had?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Just like that.
U-boats or whatever they were.
So who would be a good client that would purchase like a work boat?
Again, everything that we make is kind of geared towards the oil spill industry. So, you've got large vehicles, ATVs, you have a lot of equipment that needs to be brought in and off the boat. Stepping over,
Yeah.
the wall is not safe or convenient, so it's good for that. And then we have another one called the Inlander, and we designed and built this boat just from being on scene at many spills and seeing these guys in these John boats, these fiberglass John boats dealing with these heavy anchors, and watching that water line oh boy, they're going to sink that thing. So we built this thing as just a workhorse, and that's why we've got a horse for the logo, because it's just a plow horse. This thing is a stud in the water.
Yeah.
And it's been really successful for us, and we have the capability to custom build it to suit the needs of the client. We've built one for some guys down in Kentucky for Asian carp fishing.
Oh, wow.
And we built one that has a full enclosed wheelhouse for some places in colder regions so they can get a heater in there. We had a client recently ask for one, just the hull. We built him just the hull, and he built a full tiny house on this thing.
Oh, cool.
And I guess
Was his name Noah?
I don't remember where he's from, but it was a pretty cool looking boat, and it's a cool concept to see a tiny house on one of our custom boats. But again, that goes back to our capabilities. How almost everything that we build there is custom. It's rare that we'll have a vacuum system or a boat and someone calls and they're like, "I'll have the vacuum system A, please." It's not how it works. They've got a specific purpose they need this thing for, and they tell us what it is, and we'll build it like that.
See, why can't more companies be like this? They go down there, they see people run around on John boats, and they're like, boy, that would work a lot better if we had this, this, and this, and you guys just come back home and make it happen.
Well,
You know what I mean? You see a need for something, and you design it.
And that's one of the reasons our product line just keeps growing. Is it's a combination of a void we might see in the market and feedback we get from clients. We've had tons of revisions on our existing equipment based on client feedback. So it's always good to hear that and know where we can kind of improve and make our products better.
You guys even do response trailers and containers because obviously you got to have a place to store this stuff when it gets there, a way to get it there.
Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the only things that we have to order in are those covered trailers. We don't make those, but we will outfit them with, whatever equipment that the client needs. A lot of times it's they need certain number of skimmers, certain amount of boom. They need a boom vane, and they need shovels and whatever they need. Well, they don't want a whole turnkey operation, so we'll outfit a trailer for them and send it on its way.
I never thought about this either, but like your multi-purpose crawler carrier and the multi-purpose ATV, you would think just a normal ATV would work, but these have like actual tracks on them, like a tank would have. And I'm assuming that's because a lot of your clients are literally out in the rough.
Well, yes, and again, we originally started as here in the middle of the U.S. and whenever oil spills happen, they usually happen inland. They don't happen out in the ocean. They happen in a river or happen in a lake, and they usually happen in a place where you can't get a vehicle. So we kind of specialize on those inland spill products. So we have these all-terrain vehicles where we'll just buy like a Kubota side-by-side, something like that, but then we'll modify it. We'll add some hydraulic units to it, and we've got some tracks and stuff that can go on it to leave zero footprint. And then you can use that vehicle as your power unit to operate the skimmer and the pumps and everything like that.
So, I guess it sounds like you got the water thing covered. Like if you have an oil spill like out in the ocean or in a river, you guys are good. But what happens when you have one on land? You guys have stuff that helps clean up oil if it's just spilled on the ground?
When you get oil on the ground, it's kind of game over at that point. At that point, containment's gone, collection's kind of out the window. You're in a remediation state at that point.
Like cleanup phase.
Yeah. I mean, we have a couple booms that can be used on the ground, but the oil's not going to move. It's not going to move across the ground. It's going to sink into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you're bringing in excavators and things like that and digging it up.
Yeah.
And a lot of EPA people showing up, I'm sure.
Yep. If you can keep the oil in the water, you'll be able to move it a lot easier. And that's what's so tricky about spills in a river is you got to keep it off the shore. If you can keep it off the shore, then you can keep it contained and you can collect it. But once it hits the shore, that's it.
Yeah. Well, and it's constantly moving in a river, too. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot more than in the ocean would be.
What's a boom vane?
A boom vane is, in theory, very simple. And the best way to describe it is this. And this might be really tricky to do in an audio format, but I'm going to do my best. So,
would it help if I showed them the picture?
Yeah, if you're watching this video somewhere, then that picture will help you out.
Which picture are we looking at here?
And
boom. Okay, boom vane. I see.
Okay,
so it looks like
it's basically it's a float. Whenever you're deploying containment boom in the water, one of the traditional ways is to use a boat. And so if oil's coming downstream towards you, you want to get that boom out in the water to intercept that oil so it comes close to the shore where you are. Okay, so you're going to have that boom at like a 45-degree angle or even, steeper than that, so you can get that boom to come right to you. Well, using anchors, using a boat, it's a lot of equipment to use. It's a lot of people to use. The boom vane is designed to deploy that containment boom for you and hold it out there in the river. So
it's like a drone, kind of.
Well, not so much like a drone. It's a kite. Imagine a kite in the water.
Okay.
So you know how a kite works, okay? You're holding it right here. The wind's coming from behind you, and the tension that you pull on that string mixed with the wind hitting that kite, the kite goes up in the air, right? Yeah. This works the same way. This
Only with water current.
Exactly. The boom vane is tied off upstream, so you get that tension on that line. The water hits it, and whenever that water hits that tension, it swings that boom vane out into the water and deploys the boom.
Okay.
So it's super safe.
Which funnels the oil towards the shore.
Or wherever you want it to go, yeah.
Wherever your equipment is to start skimming it or whatever
Correct.
you want to call it.
Yeah. Huh. You kind of got to see it.
It's crazy to think that people have thought this far into it.
Well,
that much detail.
What's weird is this. It happens so often. We have to have this.
I know.
Whole industry.
Well, again, this is a technology that came from the fishing industry. It was invented by two guys in Norway, and it was something that
trout lines,
the Norwegian fishing industry used for their big sweeping nets. Instead of having to use 2 boats to pull a big net, they had something similar like this, where they just have 1 boat, they throw that out, and it would tow their nets for them.
Wow.
So do you ever have to like go to these job sites, you personally, or you more stay at home? And
I rarely go to sites like this. I'm mostly stay here. Again, I'm a desk jockey. I sit behind a computer and make literature. Yeah. I do go to some things for photography and shoot video and things like that. Probably one of the coolest places I've been to was up in northern Michigan in the middle of winter. And they were doing oil tests on ice. So we're up there at the Mackinac Straits at the Great Lakes there, and everything was just completely frozen over. It was bitter cold, and we're testing this equipment in ice. I'm talking some of the most brutal oil spill conditions you can probably have, and it's probably one of those where no one's really figured it out how to, really do a good job of cleaning up oil in Arctic conditions. But
what does it do? What would oil do on top of ice like that?
Well, it stays under the ice, and that's why it's tricky.
Oh, I see.
It'll stay under the ice, right in between the water and the ice, and as the water's moving, so is the oil underneath the ice.
Oh, wow.
So it's tricky to get to it and kind of contain it.
So you guys were testing out new equipment to get to the oil. How do you get to the oil under the ice?
Well, we were in a great big Coast Guard cutter thing. It was, I don't remember what it was called, but it was, one of these Coast Guard ships that was designed to go through ice, and it would kind of just drive around and break up the ice, and then we could drop in a place where there was water, and they would test it with like peat moss, because it was that was safe on the environment, but it's something that you could contain and collect. Yeah. So we used a skimmer there that had these steam coils in it. So whenever we're dropping it down in the water, it looked like a spaceship going down with smoke coming out of it. Because when it's 0 degrees and you got steam pouring out of that thing, it was just there's smoke everywhere. It's pretty cool looking.
Dumb question. Which if you
there's no dumb questions on Carmike
That's
Cast.
True. I would assume if you're at an oil spill, you can smell it.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been to a couple really small ones, and you can definitely smell it. And again, it depends what the spill is. If it's like a diesel spill or something like that, you smell that from pretty far away.
Yeah.
Diesel float on water?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All hydrocarbons float on water.
Really?
As far as I know, I'm not a scientist, but hey,
what would be wrong with just lighting it on fire?
Well, it depends on where you are. I mean, that's what we did in the Gulf because there was no one around. There was no threat of anything around it catching on fire. There's been a few times way up north in like creeks and stuff where there's been a big spill and there was ice. So they had everything kind of pulled off. They were able to light that on fire.
But you wouldn't want to do it under, the little Wabash, because then we would have forest fires, probably house fires, people living along
the trick with that is, you're burning raw oil there. And I don't know if you remember from seeing the footage from that Gulf spill how much smoke there was.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a thick smoke. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is the emissions of that smoke are probably less dangerous than the exhaust coming out of your car. Don't quote me on this, okay? Yeah. Again, I'm not a scientist, but I know that whenever we were doing those burns, there were EPA people in the boats with us with all their monitors, and the only time that they ever got any type of feedback was the exhaust from the motors on the boat.
Oh, wow.
So it's a raw crude coming out. It's not been processed yet.
Yeah.
So it's usually that smoke would fall out pretty quick down to the ground. But if it, like you're saying here in one of the local rivers, you got people all around on the land, you got to consider that. And it's kind of an option of least damage.
Yeah.
What response option can we do here that'll do the least amount of damage?
Yeah.
And generally, for the most part, burning it is the easiest and best form because you burn it and it's gone. Once you collect it with the skimmer, now you have to transport it. You have to take it somewhere to get cleaned or refined somehow, and usually it'll get burned or incinerated there for disposal. Sometimes they can recover it and, kind of take it back and process it into something else, but usually it's so emulsified that you can't save it.
Here's a turbidity curtain, and I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like the picture almost is like...
it looks like an illusion.
It looks like an optical illusion.
Let me see again.
That's some of my Photoshop handiwork.
Is that going down in the water?
Yeah. It kind of gives you the X-ray vision through the water so you can see what's going on there.
Okay.
So you did that picture.
Yeah.
Let me see that again.
So that you can see there they've got a dredging barge there. They've been working. I think that was up around Mount Vernon. So we were able to go over there and take some pictures, but they're kind of working on the dam there, and they're doing some dredging. So they had that turbidity curtain up, so all the silt and everything they kick up from the bottom doesn't get sent downstream. It all gets contained inside that curtain there.
So what's the difference in a baffle and just a normal boom? Because they look like...
Yeah, you're starting to talk a little bit outside of my area of expertise here.
Gotcha.
These are all the products that are made down in Florida. A baffle is kind of going to be used a lot of times in maybe overflow ponds or anytime that you have a water fallout that needs to stay inside a lagoon or something like that for a long amount of time. These baffles are there to kind of help direct the water in a certain flow. Which
makes more sense. You would need that in Florida because there's just swamps and ponds and stuff everywhere. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Well, let's take a quick break. My ears are burning from these headphones. Let's hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Brian Cook.
When it comes to engagement rings, the first thing that probably comes to mind is expensive. And why wouldn't it? 3 months' wages on a ring? That's crazy. And let's be honest, you know nothing about diamonds. It's all intimidating. I'm Cody Gottman, owner of HD Bean Jewelers, and I want to change how you feel about buying that engagement ring. I stock in-style engagement rings that are at a great price, and we put the extra effort in to help you understand what you're buying. We even offer service after the sale, sizing, a lifetime warranty, and a convenient cleaning plan that can't be beat. Thinking about a custom engagement ring? We can handle that. All our custom rings are built start to finish in-house, and you get to work with a professional jeweler, not some salesperson. If you're ready for a new way to buy an engagement ring, stop by our showroom, downtown Carmi, or give me a call, 618-382-8170. I can't wait to be your jeweler.
Thanks for hanging in there, guys. We are back. We decided on break we were going to hop on their website, and of course, none of this is going to be new to him because he's the one that actually created all these videos and edited them or whatever. But
not all of them. I can't take credit for all of them.
Most of them. We're going to play a couple videos, and he's just going to kind of walk us through what we're seeing here. This is some of the products that they sell at Elastec.
Yeah, this skimmer right here that's on screen, it was our skimmer that we built for the X Prize competition. We won. We're always happy to brag about that. After the Gulf spill happened in 2010, the X Prize came out with this challenge to create some sort of device to remove oil off the water, recognizing that there was a void in technology during the 2010 spill to get oil off the water. X Prize is that organization that put together like the first private spacecraft. They had like a multi-million-dollar purse for that, and then they had a challenge for like a car that can drive 100 miles on 1 gallon of gas type of thing.
Oh wow!
So they put together this challenge, $1 million first prize purse to anyone who could build the device to pick up oil on their parameters.
Who won the million?
Oh, we did.
Really?
Yeah, that was us. At the time, the record was a device could pick up 1,100 gallons of oil in a minute. That was the current record. So they issued a challenge to anyone that could pick up 2,500 gallons of oil in a minute.
Now, this is just one machine doing this?
Yeah. And so there were like 350 teams that put their hat in at the very beginning. That got dwindled down to like top 35, and then that got dwindled down to top 10, and we were in the top 10. So this is the skimmer that we built to take there, knowing that all of our competitors were shooting for that 2,500 gallons a minute. We said, if we're going to win this thing, we're going to have to double that. So we set a personal goal of 5,000 gallons in a minute. So we did some math and created this thing from scratch. And by the end of the competition, we picked up about 4,800 gallons of oil in 1 minute with 85% efficiency, meaning everything that we picked up, 85% of it was oil, 15% was water. But we got first place, and we won $1 million, and probably most of that went into actually building this thing and everything that went involved to do that. But it really put us on the map worldwide because this is one of those industries where a lot of people, they make a lot of claims, they say a lot of things. Hey, we've got a skimmer that can do 300 gallons of oil a minute. And then they go and buy that skimmer, and it doesn't even come close to that. But we actually go through the effort of going and getting this stuff tested and certified and getting an actual nameplate capacity. I can't even talk. Nameplate capacity is what it's called, which is actual certified recovery rate. So, hey, we say that our skimmer will do this, and it will actually do that. So whenever we won this competition, it really we call that our moment of proof.
Yeah.
We're the little dogs from Southern Illinois, and we go and win this global competition against all the big boys. And
So this competition was where now?
it was in New Jersey. There's a big tank up there called OMSED. It's on a naval base, and it's just this football field size saltwater tank used specifically for oil spill response testing. It's the only place in the world like it.
So before the competition begins, obviously someone dumps a bunch of oil in there, and then each team gets 1 minute to suck as much of that oil up as they can.
they I don't remember how many gallons of oil they had in this tank. It was thousands of gallons of oil they had in this tank. And, each team, I think they'd get a 1 minute run down the tank to pick up as much oil as they can. They had to cut ours off at like 25 seconds because we were overflowing their tanks. So we couldn't even go the whole full 1 minute because they didn't have enough space for all the oil we picked up.
So how many gallons did you win with in a minute?
4,800. It was about that.
What was second place? Do you remember?
It was like 2,600, something like that.
So not even close.
not even close.
Were you actually there?
I didn't. No, I wasn't there.
Wouldn't you have loved to have seen all the other teams' faces as soon as you hit their number halfway through the time limit?
You would have hit that in like 5 seconds.
They kept all of that stuff close to the chest. They didn't let anything out. They didn't let any of the results out until everything was over and they announced the winners at the end of the competition.
I mean, you could tell as another team member though, like,
I would think so.
Like, yeah, like they're doing it.
I mean, you could start seeing clear water in that video.
Yeah.
Like it was sucking so much of it up, you could actually see the water again.
And okay, I won't bore you with the whole science of encounter rates and all that stuff, but the skimmer was one part, the booms are another part. Before you can pick the oil up, you have to encounter it. So you got to have these big sweep arms to kind of collect everything and suck it all in. And like you're saying, yeah, there's clean water behind that. So we were picking it all up. Every drop of oil in that tank was going into our skimmer.
Wow. It's so crazy. So which one?
Play that one.
This one?
Yeah, this is our TDS 136. It's basically the step up from our flagship TDS 118. And I'm pretty sure that this is at OMSED as well. And this is when we were getting our nameplate capacity. So we were doing a test here, and this is an optimal condition test. They put this thing in oil, and at this point, the drums aren't even touching water. It is pure oil. But the point of the test is to completely max it out just to see how much oil this thing will
It's like
recover.
a stress test, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. So this thing's going full bore, and you can kind of see there in the front there it's starting to overflow a little bit. But that's how you get your nameplate capacity and you get your max results. So we're able to take that information and we can promote and say, hey, this skimmer is proven to do these numbers in optimal conditions.
So when you talk about the nameplate capacity, when you make a new product like this, like if it's something brand new, you have to take it to this place to test it?
No,
you
you don't have to. And
that's just more of a backing.
That's more of the backing. This is our moment of proof right here. Hey, we did this. Coast Guard was there, and they saw the test, and they were able to ratify the numbers.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the when Boy Scouts you had to do the Pinewood Derby. You can spend all the time you want on that car, but until you put it on the track and see how it performs, you really don't know how well you've done. And you don't have a football field size saltwater tank
Right.
in your backyard.
We've got some small tanks in our facility where we can test some stuff out. We've built some pools, we built some tanks, so we can test all this stuff internally and get a good idea. But at that point, it's just, hey, we did this, and we can say we did this, and that's what a lot of people do.
You kind of have to have some other people there to kind of like notarize it in a sense.
And they might not be dishonest. I'm not saying they're being dishonest with their claims. It's there's a lot of different variables. They might have a pump that can handle 1,000 gallons a minute, but is hooked up to a skimmer that can only handle 200 gallons a minute, but they can still claim 1,000 gallon a minute capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that we're really proud of is we're able to test this stuff. We're able to prove these numbers. And that's why we have the reputation of being one of the best in the world at what we do.
Yeah. It's so cool, like, watching the machines work. I feel like that helped me, like, figure out what we were talking about at the first break. You know what I mean?
I just feel like if we actually have a contest to see who can skim the most oil off the water, there's got to be contests out there for everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such thing as a X what?
X Prize Foundation.
Yeah,
So they do all kinds of stuff though. The X Prize thing. Remember he was
they-
saying like different cars and all kinds of stuff. So they just pick like a different topic, I guess. And
Well, it might be something where they have a certain donor that sees a void somewhere. They see a problem that needs to be fixed. And the best way to spur on innovation is with incentive.
yeah.
So whenever you have these huge purses out there and you open it up to anyone and everyone,
So this year's competition is going to be alternative to masks.
Alternative to Matt, we're gonna figure out
A better way to keep us from spreading the coronavirus than breathing through masks all day long.
we need to.
there you go.
to avoid.
All right, let's go to. Was it this one?
Well, that is our X150. So the skimmer that we used in that competition was a race car. It was a concept vehicle. It wasn't really feasible or plausible to put that thing into production. It was made solely to win that contest. So after we won that contest, we were able to take the same technology and kind of size it down, scale it down.
Is that why it wasn't feasible? Because it's just too big?
It was huge. I mean, the logistics of having to deploy that thing in the water, handle it, that would be a pretty big undertaking. And again, it was tested in optimal conditions. Will those conditions happen in oil spill?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at something like the Gulf spill again, and hopefully that doesn't ever happen again. So,
And by optimal conditions, you mean there's not 10-foot waves, there's not
you're
boats circling around
Exactly.
you and wind. And
Yep. You got to have, flat water, 6-inch deep oil, something like that. So this is our X150, and it's using the same technology. Our competition skimmer had 64 discs. This one has 10. And it can come with a launching system that fits inside a high cube container. So it can be shipped all around the world
So
pretty
this
easily.
is essentially your commercial version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have multiple different groove disc skimmers that range all the way down from having 2 discs in them that can go in a small workboat.
What kind of material are those discs made of?
Plastic.
Just
like
plastic?
I don't remember exactly what kind of blend.
I didn't know if it was like a certain material that like stuck oil or just.
No, it's made of oil itself, and that's why the oil sticks to it, because oil sticks to oil.
Well, that makes sense.
That's why the oil will pick it up and the water just falls off.
Huh.
I think that's a point a lot of people don't get is, there's a lot of people out there that are just anti-oil. And if you look around this room, 80% of what you see in here, you had to have oil to even make it, right? I mean, plastic can't be made without oil.
Sure.
Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything we have is made of oil somehow, whether it's physically made of oil or oil was used in the process
Of making it.
to make it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Or even getting to the place to make it.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I think it's more people are against the idea of oil, like the bad parts of oil, I think is
Yeah.
what it is.
Well, I'm like this. I'm like a monkey swinging through the jungle. I don't want to grab a hold of another branch. I don't want to let go of this branch until I've grabbed a hold of another one.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. We gotta come up with some cleaner solutions, but we can't.
Oh, I see where you're coming. I was like, what does that analogy mean? But I get what you're saying.
We can't just say heck with oil before we have a decent replacement for it.
Yeah.
And as of right now, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody's for, this green planet. I think we argue about how to get there.
Yeah.
Properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is Elastec hiring?
We are hiring, and we are always accepting applications. You can always kind of see what any job openings will be posted on our website. We post stuff on our social media as well. Right now, as we're recording this, I think we have 3 job openings, 2 in Carmine, 1 in Fairfield. But we always accept applications. You can fill out an application online on our website, and we also have paper applications in all of our Illinois facilities and our Florida facilities as well. But yeah, always apply, always call in and ask and see what's going on. So we're always looking for good workers.
Fabricators and
All across the board. I mean, like I said, we do everything in-house. So, we've got an accounting department, we've got an HR department, a marketing department, sales department, steel welding, aluminum welding, fabrication, inventory people, shipping people, purchasing people. We got it all.
health insurance.
We have health insurance. Yeah, I got a whole list of things here.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Yeah, we've got health insurance, dental, vision, have a 401k matching up to 4%. We have, PTO that kind of accrues the longer you're there, the more you get. Our production staff works 4 10-hour days, so you always get Friday off.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we announced today that we're raising our internal minimum wage to $15 an hour. So, this is breaking news to me as well. So, I guess you learn more about that when you call in. But I mean, everything starts at $15 an hour.
Well, let's turn the lights off. I think it's time for me to go work for Elastec instead.
Yeah, I'm gonna start helping design oil skimmers.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Elastec's got a website, social media account, so if anybody's interested, they could.
We are not hard to find. That's one of the things that my department is in charge of, is making sure we're easy to find. So you go on Google and you look for anything oil spill related, Elastec related, we're going to smother the front page.
Awesome. Well, I learned a lot. How about you?
Yeah.
This is 2 episodes in a row we've actually learned a bunch of stuff.
See, that's why I love doing these shows, honestly. It's because I never would have known anything about the eye like last week, and all this information. Sometimes it's good that we only do one a week.
Yeah,
because it's too much information sometimes.
I think macular degeneration became my term of the week for me.
It was. Yeah. See, look, we got a fan now.
See. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? Any information that is pertinent?
Yes, we have a new product called Bottle Boom. You're kind of making the joke how you can't just walk into Elastec and buy a product. Well, you kind of can. We have a product that's new to us called Bottle Boom, and it's kind of one of the first products that we have that we're selling directly to the consumer. And
should we try to guess what it is?
Yeah, go for it.
Bottle Boom.
Well, I mean, first off, Elastec likes naming things like they are.
Almost identical to what it is.
So if you're going to use the boat to work, they're going to name it the work boat.
Yeah.
If it's a drum and it skims, it's going to be a drum skimmer.
Yeah.
So I feel like a Bottle Boom. Is that what it's called?
That's right.
Go ahead.
I mean, well, he's kind of, obviously it has to be for, everyday people. If you could just walk in and buy it.
I'm thinking is it for pools? I'm thinking it's for like pools to clean maybe.
Like after a big bender, you can just throw this boom out and it gets all the floating bottles and cans out of your pool maybe.
Well, that's not what I meant, but yeah, I'd like that.
I feel like it's some way of like purifying drinking water.
Okay. I think you're close.
You're way off.
We're both off.
And it gets meta. It is a boom made of bottles made to collect bottles.
Like floating bottles?
Yeah. That's why it's our Bottle Boom. So what it is it's an...
Well, first off, we have a floating bottle problem somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, the past few years, we've been getting into more and more plastic pollution response, floating trash and debris. It's a global problem. We don't just do oil spill.
Yeah.
We do, water pollution across the board. And one of the biggest ones is plastics.
Well, don't, like, all these plastic bottles and stuff, don't they end up in, like, these weird, like, streams that are in the ocean, like currents? I don't know what you call them, like
undercurrents and things like that.
Yeah, you may just be out in the middle of the ocean and see just a miles-long line of just trash that's somehow in its own like stream kind of.
Once all that stuff gets in the ocean, you're done. I mean, there's people out there trying to get it out, but it's vast space, man. Yeah. You can't find all that plastic. And they talk about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's not like a solid patch. You can be out right in the middle of it and never see a thing. It's huge, and it's not all on the surface. It's submerged.
Wow.
So our goal is to keep all that stuff from even reaching the ocean.
Yeah.
Again, we're thinking inland. So we have a product now called Bottle Boom that you can buy on our website. It's like $50 or $60.
Oh, so this thing's small.
Yeah, it's real small. It's 10 foot long, and then we have a 15 foot long. And it's the same containment boom vinyl that we make our oil containment boom of. There's just no flotation in it. It's an empty sleeve. And the goal is maybe you can go out with like a Boy Scouts group, church group, or something like that, roadside ditches and things, pick up trash and debris.
Oh, okay.
Got a plastic bottle here. This is going to be laying on the side of the road. You take this bottle, you stuff it inside that sleeve, and this creates the flotation for your boom. You seal it off, and then you can go on and go throw it in that ditch. What happens is, people will be driving down the road, they throw their trash out the window. They're going to have a flush event, which is a big rain. You know, it seems like the past month or here, maybe once a week now, we've had that just really heavy rain come. And all the water picks up everything that's sitting in that roadside ditch, and it floats into the nearest stream, into the nearest river, and it's on its way to the ocean. So if we can stop that from ever even getting, you know, the higher up the stream we can stop it, the better. So now people have the ability, it's not an expensive product. You can go into and put it in, like, we have one here in town, actually. It's just off of Oak Street, and we empty it weekly. It's crazy how often there's just, you know, Coke bottles, you know, food containers and things like that get caught.
Is it on the website, like what it looks like?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time picturing something that would stop bottles.
Up there in the
from
top
going
right, we've got a little search bar. Just type in bottle boom and you'll see it. But it's something, and, you know, you can go out in your community and clean up some trash and then use that same trash
to make more bottle booms.
To make more boom, to collect more trash. And it's, you know, we want to kind of teach kids about it. It's a good way to teach kids about environmental responsibility. It's a good way to have an impact on your local community to keep things clean. And it's relatively inexpensive for everything that it can
here
clean
you go.
up.
So there's some pictures of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you said you have one in here, and so you just leave it and then just clean it up periodically. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we check in on it almost weekly.
So then you just fill actual bottles into that.
Yep.
Oh,
Just
well, that's
stuff it with 20 ounce.
pretty smart.
And that creates all the flotation. All the bottles are sealed. You're reusing these single-use plastic items.
So as the water rises, the boom rises, as well as the floating trash. So it's never going to get past that boom because the boom is moving with the water.
Theoretically. You know,
Because, I mean, technically the trash is catching the trash.
Yeah.
So then,
there's a certain way you need to install it, and we've got videos that show how to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time there's a big rain, that boom is full of trash.
And I'm assuming it also grabs limbs and sticks and anything that floats.
And oftentimes, whenever that happens, it'll help collect more things. So you got to maintain it a little bit, but again, it's one of those things where if you have a place, like if you live near a creek or something like that, I know there's a lot of creeks running through Carmi, you know, and if you notice there's a lot of trash in that creek, drop one of those in there and you can stop it all from hitting the river.
Yeah. Who deployed the one on Oak Street?
We did.
And who has to go collect it?
We do. Me and
just to prove a point.
Well, it's
and to help clean the community.
It's a combination of proof of concept.
Yeah.
We're testing it out, and we, you know, yes, we are selling these. We're a company. Our goal is to make money selling our products, but I mean, everyone who works there does have a goal of making the world better. Yeah. You know, we take a lot of pride knowing that we're making a positive influence on the world.
Yeah.
You know, we're helping keep things clean. We're making a change.
Yeah.
You know, it's exciting, and it makes everyone proud knowing that when you go to work every day, you're making an active, positive influence on the world.
So how long is the boom?
10 feet.
So there's a 15-foot one that's $64 and a 10-foot one that's $59.
And you can link them together. You can see that's got those grommets on the end. So if you needed to span something longer, you could link two together, link multiples together.
That's a really smart idea, honestly.
Yeah, it's got my mind turned. You know what I'm thinking of?
What?
I get duckweed on my pond real bad.
Yeah.
It's just, they're like little bitty tiny leaves, and man, once it starts growing, everybody's seen it. If you drive past a pond and it looks like it's just a solid shade of like a really lime green, that's normally duckweed, and it is just, it's annoying. I wonder if I could put a boom out and just scrape all that to one side and scoop it out.
Don't let him know that I'm talking about him behind his back. If you go up and hit the search bar and type in duckweed skimmer.
Oh, no
you have a duckweed skimmer?
Yeah, we make those too. I'm telling you, if it's on the water, if it's something unsightly on the water, we're trying to get rid of it.
I've got 2 neighbors that'd be interested in this. You may have just made my day.
That's it.
I've been battling this for 4 years.
There
you go.
We tested up. We tested up here in this lake off of Highway 1, right across from the golf course. You know that pond there? It's always covered in duckweeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where all these shots came from.
Well, you definitely.
I'm assuming just a normal guy can't go in and buy one.
Yeah, if you walk in and say, "I want to buy one of your duckweed skimmers,"
how much is it? Do you know?
I don't know. No, But if we had one in inventory, we'd say, here you go. And if we don't,
Is
we'll
that,
say we'll build
can
you one.
people at home see that, what we're seeing?
Yeah, I got it pulled up.
Yeah, that's duckweed. Sure is.
So you just pretty much hook it up to a generator and let her eat.
Yeah, it's just a pump.
Oh yeah,
Kind of creates it's like a weir skimmer. So there's underneath the water there's kind of a box with a little weir dam almost. So once that pump turns on, it's just sucking off like the top 1/4 inch.
Yeah, there you go.
Of the water.
And see, I thought I had this grand idea.
They've already thought of it.
Yeah.
They've already thought of all of it,
Yeah, I know.
obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe some of that creative energy will flow into us now. It's awesome. It's smart that we're going to the smaller things, the larger things. I mean, you're nailing it.
But we're always open to good ideas too. I mean, we have an open policy. Anyone comes up with any idea, present it and we'll run with it. There's a lot of our product improvements have come from employees. There's a lot of things have come from employee suggestions as far as streamlining a process or improving a product.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always open to new ideas.
It's neat.
Yeah, it is. Well, I've learned enough for the day. You got anything else for him?
No, I think I'm good.
I think I'm going to call and ask about a price of a duckweed skimmer.
Yeah, I'll put my application in on Monday. So,
Well, Brian, thanks again for coming in. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. That was Brian Cook from Elastec here in Carmi. They do have a Facebook page and a website. If you want to follow CarmiCast, check us out on Facebook or visit carmicast.com, and we'll see you next round.